What's going on, guys? Matt here, MKS Performance. Today we're doing a bit of preventative maintenance on our Audi RS3, but to be fair, it's more like preventative failure. Car's approaching 85,000 miles now, so just as a sort of a cautionary thing, we bought a new high pressure fuel pump, only because of this. You can't get that separately, unfortunately, from the factory. There's no part number for it, and nobody knows where you can get these things from. Possibly the factory would know who makes them. Of course they would. So yeah, that is what's basically failing. So what's happening is you have, this is a standard internals here. So you have the plunger here, and then you have like the bean, if you want to call it that. This plunger moves in and out of there, which obviously displaces fluid, creates pressure. So this is the high pressure side of the mechanical fuel pump. So as you can see, we have the uprated one. This is an Autotech one. I've already cleaned it up and inspected it. We've been running it for about 5,000 miles now, and we would typically inspect them anyway every 5,000 miles, because if it is working harder, then wear can perhaps arguably increase. So same setup, but this is the business end here. We have a larger knob, if you want to call it that, base of the plunger, so that is developing more pressure there versus the old one here. So like I said, what's happening is these internal seals here are failing. Now, whether they're failing because they've been put together by a fucking muppet, or the high mileage and the extra pressure it just can't cope with, it's open to debate. So because of purely that seal there, you have to buy a whole new pump, unfortunately. So there you go, there's the case. So what we've got is, we've got ultra slick assembly lube, really good stuff. We build all our engines with that. We'll use that as an assembly lube, because obviously you don't just put this together well, you certainly don't put it together dry, and I would argue I wouldn't put it together with fresh petrol either. I would use assembly lube. That will help with the well, not so much bedding in process, but will certainly help with it until the fluid takes over. And obviously the fluid is, the petrol that is providing a bit of clearances on certain items like that, and there is a bit of lubrication from that petrol. So you certainly don't want to put this together dry. And we've got carb cleaner, which is what we'll use to clean up the internal bean, if you want to call it that, and the actual plunger base. So what we do is we get a drain cleaner, make sure it's nice and clean, and we just basically spray your carb cleaner in there and on here, and you get that spotless. So basically you want it to the point where it's like a mirror focus. There you go, it's a mirror finish in there. I've not polished that. There's no, you don't scrub these at all. You don't go mad with that little nylon pipe cleaner. It is it's a very hard material here, so it's very difficult to damage it, but I certainly wouldn't go berserk with it. Okay, because obviously that is a machined finish, and there is a certain tolerance between that bean, if you want to call it that, and the base of here. So what I discovered was, when I pulled it apart, there was a tiny, and I mean, I'm being very anal here, very tiny bit of resistance between the actual base of the plunger here and the bean seat. Not a great deal. It was basically just maybe a stain. That's such, because there's such a tight tolerance between these two mating parts here. It doesn't take much. You're talking maybe a couple of microns almost. It was a stain, basically. You can't feel it with your fingernail, but it almost looked like a bit of chalky residue, but you couldn't see it if you tried to remove it off with the nylon brush. So a bit of carb cleaner that we've got here, sprayed in there, a wiggle with the pipe cleaner, and yeah, a lot smoother, a lot smoother. So these are the items here that some guys, I'm not going to mention the brand names, but I believe Autotech were the first guys to start coming out with uprated high pressure fuel pump internals for the old 2 litre TFSIs, and then obviously they've done one for the RS3. Same principles again. It runs on an extra cam lobe. On this case, it's the exhaust camshaft. Obviously for the 2 litre TFSIs, it runs on the inlet camshaft. This is a better design though, because it runs on an actual roller cam follower rather than just a blank traditional cam follower, which, as we've been seeing, they wear out pretty quickly when high mileage, or the early revision of the 2 litre TFSIs. I think they were AAA. No, it wasn't AAA. It was AXX. engine codes, and the buckets were basically wearing out quite quickly, and then before you know it, this section was just smashing itself into the actual camshaft, the extra lobe. So yeah, we'll do a little video afterwards once we've installed it, again using assembly lube. That petrol will dissolve that, don't worry about that, that's really really good stuff, but I can't stress it enough, you don't put these together bone dry. You can, if you want, use petrol, but I prefer to use fresh petrol, that is. I prefer to use the engine assembly lube. Okay guys, cheers.